How should I start off this Halloween 2018 review? How am I to do this? There's no boogeyman in there. Oh, it's so dark. Surprisingly, it's so dark. I think this is it. There it is. What's up, guys? Darkside Spencer here, and I am here doing the Halloween 2018 review. Let's talk about it. We got Jamie Lee Curtis playing Laurie Strode. And now, if you don't recognize that name, then where the fuck have you been? Laurie Strode, pretty much is one of the best final girls of any horror film that has ever been made. Halloween put horror on the map, really, like the slasher genre. It put it back on the map. And I feel that with Halloween 2018 being pretty much the sequel to the very first film in 1978, I feel that this film, as it can leave much to be desired, I feel like Halloween 2018 really does go back to the roots that Halloween, the whole franchise, really is needed since it began. In Halloween 2. I feel like we never really got the sequel that we deserved. Now, I'm actually a fan of Halloween 2. I enjoyed it. It had the kind of feel, it felt like another half to the very first film. It felt that it didn't just pick up, or carry on the legacy, or try to do something better than the first one. I feel like Halloween 2, the original one, kind of ended the story that we all knew and loved. And I'm pretty sure that's where they wanted it to end. If I'm correct, the directors and the writers and stuff like that, they wanted it to end there. And to me, I would have been fine. I think I would have been fine with it, but honestly, if we didn't have the very crappy and mediocre sequels, we would have not gotten Halloween 2018. So, Halloween has desperately needed something that had integrity. It brought back, it needed to bring back Michael Myers. Just the intense scenes, the one-shots. Where were the freaking one-shots? Like, where were those at? I feel that as the sequels went on, they kind of knew that it was just for money and that they shouldn't put any effort into it because this really has no substance. This movie, however, Halloween 2018, it has integrity. It knows what it is, except it's trying to be better. and is trying to have this final confrontation, which we'll get into later, between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. I feel that in this movie that they wanted to not replicate, but have the same tone and mood of the very first film in 1978. Then again, to me, I always enjoy the original film better over this one. Now, is that a bad thing? No. I think the original film was a little bit kind of mild in terms of the kills. In this movie, you get a blend of that. You actually get a blend between the scenes where you see the murderer, Michael Myers. You see Michael destroy people. The bathroom scene in theaters, no lie, I was on the edge of my seat. I had my buddy Jacob, who's also in Hell on Earth with me. He's a co-star, and he was talking the whole movie. He was just like, "Oh yeah, ooh, oh yeah, ooh," and then there's me. I'm sitting next to him, and I'm like, actually, more of an accurate representation. I was just like, "Whoa." In my head, I was like thinking, I was like, God dang, dude. Every slam, I was like, is it going to end? Whenever the Aaron, I think his name is, the reporter, he eventually gets thrown up against the wall. And that scene, I honestly was like, even though to me, I define gory as like, guts and stuff like that, not really blood. Even though gory is supposed to be like a lot of blood and, internal insides and stuff like that. That's the most common definition. Me personally, I believe that a film that is horror has to have blood eventually. Horror films, to me, it can't be a horror film without any gritty scenes with blood, and you don't always have to have guts, you gotta have blood. And I feel like that scene, it had blood. And I feel that it wasn't over-the-top gore. It was just, it knew what it was. It was a brutal death scene of these two reporters. It wasn't trying to replicate, Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. Nice belts for you there. It wasn't trying to be Halloween 1 remake, where Rob Zombie literally had Tyler Mane stand there in the bathroom watching someone take a massive dump and beat him while he's taking a shit. Like, go watch that scene right now. Go watch that scene and come back and you'll know what I'm talking about if you haven't seen it. The shit that Rob Zombie does. Rob Zombie's another topic for another day. Let's go ahead and get out of the way. Let's just go ahead and say it. This movie, all in all, with the directing, let's just go ahead and go down the list. Directing is phenomenal. Honestly, I think if I could work with David Gordon Green on some of the scenes, it would have been better. Not saying I know better. I'm just saying that some scenes with some of the cuts, to me personally, I didn't like the Sony Vegas crop that they do on the scene with him, Michael Myers, finding his mask again. I don't like those scenes where they kind of crop it. I didn't like that, because to me, I kind of would have liked separate scenes, like separate clips. See, the thing is, most people wouldn't really pick up on that. Since I'm a filmmaker, I do. It was a little bit of a con to me about him, but that's just one of the decisions I don't like. I don't really think it was his decision to have the ending the way it was. Also, I feel like the directing, since directors do have a little bit of a creative edge or creative say, I guess, in the trailers, which I don't know what extent that is, but all I do know is that whoever made the trailers showing this battle between Michael and Laurie Strode, with where Laurie goes to slice him and then freaking Michael catches it, that is the one part in the whole movie. I'm not even joking. The whole movie, I was waiting for that scene to happen. I feel like that we kind of got gypped. It really fell flat in some of the areas in terms of the directing. But I feel like this is probably the best directed sequel ever, like, for this Halloween franchise. The only movie ever that has ever topped this movie, in my opinion, is get your freaking pitchforks ready right here. Friday the 13th, 2009. I love that movie. That whole movie is a masterpiece, in my opinion, including the opening scene, which everyone was like, "Wow, oh, that sucks." To me, it's probably the best opening I've ever seen. This movie's opening, to be honest, I'm not even kidding you, in the theater, I was like, wait, that's the opening? Like, whenever it started with the clock, I was like, whoa. I literally thought it was another freaking trailer. Because no lie, we had like 6 trailers play before the opening of the movie. And I thought it was another trailer. So whenever the movie started, I didn't know the movie had started already. And I think that's kind of funny. I think that's one thing that no one else has caught on, that there were so many trailers. Because this movie's, no doubt, this was the biggest movie that came out this year. So there must have been a lot of people throwing money to get their own movies, a little bit trailers and stuff like that, thrown in front of this movie. So we all knew it was going to be, a box office freaking success, like in explosive measures. So I think the directing was really good. Some scenes, I think, like the cropping and all that stuff, could have been done better. But I love the way that Green, that's his last name, right? Green? Yeah, it's Green. It reminds me of that one kid. So Green really does a good job of kind of having Michael in the background. Like, not really blurry, but like just in the background. And it's similar from the original film, where the killer's in the background and the main focus is like a subject walking or something like that. That was really well done. I really liked how he never really showed Michael's face with the way he, and I gotta give it to the director of photography. He did a really good job. I don't know his name. He doesn't say it. But the way he lit the films, couldn't ask for a better job. To be honest, I feel like Green did the best he could with what he was given. I feel like the writing sucked for the most of the movie. I know there was no transition there, but I had to get it out of my freaking throat. The freaking writing sucked. It was one of the worst written sequels I've ever seen. Some parts felt a little bit rushed, but also they were like awkward in the way they were said. Like the father, every time he spoke, I was like, who wrote this guy's lines? Like, who does this? Who says any of this? Like, really? Oh God, the daughter of Laurie Strode. What's her name? I don't even know. I don't even remember who it is. That's another con in the writing. The characters are forgettable. They really are. The only people you really need to know is the granddaughter and the Laurie Strode and Michael. That's about it. Everyone else is kind of like a supporting character. They're not really important. They don't really bring anything to the story. I feel like in most of the time, most of the characters were forgotten. Like, what happened to that black cop? And I know, an African-American cop who was like, what are we gonna do? Cancel Halloween? What happened to that guy? Sartain, if I remember that's his name. What was that? Whoever wrote that needs to shoot themselves in the foot, because whenever I saw it in theaters, I cringed hard. But like I said, the writing, some of the lines are freaking bad, dude. Like, and just the direction that they took versus what we should have gotten, which, with the ending, I don't even need to speak about it. If you've already seen this movie, you know everything I just said was true. Some of it may be nitpicks, it could be, but I've heard too many reviewers out there say the exact same thing as me, and it just really pisses me off. Now, the acting, let's go ahead and get that out of the way. I did enjoy Jamie Lee Curtis's return to the Halloween franchise. I gotta say, she's probably the strongest acting character in this, or strongest actress in this movie by far. Everyone else sucked. Now, the granddaughter, I think she was a good teenage actor to continue on the legacy of Laurie Strode, but I feel like just the drama with her character was a little bit cringy. So the writing kind of plays into the characters, kind of like what I kind of said whenever I was talking about the writing. I feel like these characters could have done better with better writing. Does that make sense? Because everything comes down to the writing. If you don't have, let's just say Michael Myers. He's all right in 1978. Since he was so toned down, like there's only Halloween 1978 barely had any blood, and the character to me is a little bit mildly boring in 1978 because think about it. I live in 2019. You know, I'm 18 years old, 2019, and I've seen more gruesome films out there. But if I went back and watched it in 1978, that film was like, you know, it was great. But now it's just mild in terms of horror, but it is still in one of my favorite films of all time. Is because it's so tense. There's so much tension, and it's so subtle. And I feel like that film, John Carpenter executed that perfectly. And this film, it had little sprinkles in it from John Carpenter. I feel like, to be honest, the good scenes in this movie, I feel like John Carpenter stepped in and was like, Green, step aside. You know, screw the writers, screw this, screw the producers. I'm taking control because this is getting pretty bad. It wouldn't surprise me if that happened, but I doubt it. John Carpenter's a little bit too old to be directing, but then again, Wes Craven, you know, he was pretty dang old. But you know, rest in peace. One of my favorite horror directors. He brought us Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, I love that guy. But and Scream. Scream's my favorite slasher series of all time, franchise. Scream, I love Scream, but I'm probably not gonna review them because, you know, I don't know. Maybe never say never, but with Halloween 2018, like I said, the characters and the writing kind of mix, and if you don't have good writing, the actors and the characters kind of don't, you know, they don't mix or correlate to what was imagined on paper. You know, because a lot of ideas in Hollywood, they look great, they look fantastic, they look Oscar worthy on paper, but whenever they get to actually filming it, it is absolutely awful. The ending to me, I mean, beautifully shot, but it looks stupid. It looks stupid, but we'll get to that later. The plot, also I'm introducing a new element or factor, plot, like just the overall movie, like what happens in it. We're going to be talking about it. Oh man, that bacon from them burgers, they be hitting me up. So, Michael Myers. What do I think? Michael Myers was awesome. Now, what do I mean by that? The movements of Michael Myers was almost seamless from 1978 to 2019. Now, you're probably asking, is it the same actor? No. Nick Castle, from 1978, did one scene. Now, this was a big thing, because like no one knew exactly the answer. Like, which scenes did he do? Now, what he did was the scene where Laurie shoots the mirror through the window, where she sees Michael for the first time that he's back. That is the only scene where Nick Castle actually plays the Shape. Now, every other scene, it's, oh god, what's his name? No, it doesn't, no, I don't remember his name. James Jude Courtney, is that right? I think that's his name, James Jude Courtney. He, even though he's like a little bit as old as the original Nick Castle, he looks really good playing Michael. Now, you gotta think about this. If they make this into a franchise, which, if you've already seen the ending, probably they will, I'm kind of worried about James Jude Courtney's age. Now, I've seen he was in his 60s. I may be wrong, but that's what I've seen. So, I'm kind of worried in the long run, like how many movies we're going to do. You need someone young like Tyler Mane, who is not too old, but isn't too young as well, because This is 40 years later. So you gotta factor all this in, but you don't need someone who's too old to where you can't make yourself any more money because the actor gets too old to do all the stunts and stuff like that. Like the part where he falls down the freaking staircase, a 70-year-old ain't gonna be doing that if they take 2 years apiece and they make 4 films. You know what I mean? If he's almost like 68, 69, 70 by then, he's not gonna be wanting to fall downstairs. You gotta work that in. I feel like this movie was kind of rushed because there were so many attempts to get another Halloween film out after Halloween 2 remake by Rob Zombie. And then, there was a third film by Rob Zombie coming out, and then they canceled it, or something happened. I can't remember exactly what it said, but I read that he was just like, I'm out, we're done. And they've been struggling. They've been struggling to get another film out. And then with this movie, it feels kind of rushed. Like, they wanted to do something good in terms of the directing and acting and writing, but some of them just fell flat. And that's the biggest issue with this film, is a lot of it fell flat. Because I've watched this movie 3 times since I've seen it in theaters. So in theaters, it makes it 4 times. So I feel like I know what I'm talking about with this movie. I know what I want in a Halloween film, because I didn't see the original film until like 3 years ago. And I actually grew up watching Rob Zombie's Halloween. And hell, I seen Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 in theaters, opening night. And to be honest, I love that film. I love Halloween 2. There's some parts where I'm just like, yeah, this is, like the white horse thing, it's metaphorical, but it just looks bad. You know what I mean? It doesn't jive well with a standard Halloween film. You know what I mean? This film, the psychology of Michael Myers, they do mention it a little bit, but, it's more of like, oh, he can talk. He just chooses not to. That was actually pretty good. I like that. He's kind of like a mystery. There's a mystery, kind of like 1978, where you really don't know the intentions of this killer. And really just why he's doing what he's doing. And if there's something, supernatural, Now, let's go ahead and do the pros and cons, because I'm getting tired as fuck. I'm getting ready to go take myself a nap. Alright, so the pros and cons. The directing, even though there's some cons in there, I'd say the directing is a major plus. It was fantastic. Some of the acting was really good. I wouldn't ever say it's, Oscar worthy, but, what are you gonna do? Michael, that's a pro by itself. Michael was just scary in some of these scenes. Just like the movements, like I said, the movements were just terrifying to see. And it's almost like, like whenever he senses his victims, it was really cool. So the actual one-shot scene, where he actually returns to Haddonfield, and he comes back, and, he's going house to house killing people. That scene was wow. The kills in this movie were pretty brutal. It was a perfect mix between cutaway kills, which means showing the character go and do something or say something, and Michael ends up killing him, and you never see it, but you see the aftermath. Like, you see after they're already dead, and they're just hanging on, by a knife or something like that, onto a wall, like that crap's cool. But it's also, you actually see scenes where people are getting stabbed. People are getting beaten. You see the brutality. And like I said, in 1978, brutality, isn't an element in the original Halloween. And this one, it's kind of ignorant to make a Halloween film without after everyone's seen Halloween 1 and 2 remake, where they're like, oh hell no, that crap sucked. But when they go to see this movie, they know, the directors knew, that their audience wants to see brutality. They want to see blood, and they want to see Michael be a bad ass. So, I feel like they knew what they were talking about when they sat down in the writers' room and were like, how can we do this? How can we, after so many failed sequels, I'm not talking financial, because pretty much all of them made money. I'm talking critically and, fans. How can we bring back the fans who have literally left the series because of our shitty sequels? And they were like, fuck it, we're going all out. We're going to retcon the rest of the series besides number 1, and we're going in. Now, the con is, I feel like, the few cons I have, I'm already ending the pros. The cons. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. The ending. What was that? What was that? Literally, like, you see he's not even there at the ending. Oh, God. He's not even there. Like, alright, there's a split shot where the room's already on fire. Nowhere do you see Michael. Where did he go? Come on. Come on, guys. We're going to stand over here near the wall. How are they going to do it, wall? Please tell us how they're going to do the opening of the next Halloween film. Hell, what are they going to call it? Halloween 2? Oh, fuck. It's going to be oh, God. God damn it. Like I said, why are they doing this to themselves? That's where I feel like the writing really cheapens the rest of the series. And I feel like this was back a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like the ending really, one thing, they showed Michael and Laurie tying up in the trailer, then they don't even give us that, and they say it's an alternate ending, which isn't even on the DVD or the Blu-rays. I like Blu-rays because they last longer. There is no, you can actually read it if you want. There is no mention. Oh shit. No mention of an alternate ending. There's other scenes that have been cut out, like deleted scenes and stuff like that, B-roll, stuff like that. But you don't actually get a chance to see the alternate ending, which supposedly Michael and Laurie dies, which would have been wow in theaters. I don't know why they cut that ending. Like I said, Green, please, kill him off. How long are we going to see Michael and Laurie tie up? I'm getting tired of that narrative. Really tired of it quick. Is my face even in focus? I don't even know. I hope so. Because like this whole video I've been filming. So, so the ending sucked. It was beautifully shot. But it lacked. And they kind of alluded to the granddaughter being Michael, which is pretty much a direct copy of Halloween 4, the ending, where they're like, oh, I'm the killer now, with the girl, Annie, I think her name is. I don't even remember what her name was. But, it should have been, I think they should have just ended it with Michael breathing, and then cut the black or some shit like that, if they're going to do that. Like they said they would with the alternate ending. But the ending sucked. Another con, the writing is god-awful. In a lot of the scenes, I felt that there was something more to be desired in terms of the actual dialogue between characters. I feel like there's a lot of things that I just felt like puking once I heard it. I was like, God, can this be over now? Like, I felt like every scene was with dialogue, especially the kids. I was just waiting for it to end. I couldn't wait for those kids to just die. Besides the blonde one and the granddaughter, I feel like they actually deserved a little bit more screen time, just to, kind of, pass the torch off. But I feel like we got a good amount of Laurie Strode. She's kind of more like a background character. But at the same time, what can you do? I mean, what can you do? But Michael, I feel like we didn't get enough Michael scenes. Surprisingly, in a Halloween film, we didn't get enough Michael scenes. Well, I mean, we had more iconic scenes. Like, every time we seen Michael, we were like, holy shit. Like, every scene with Michael in it was great. Like, fucking amazing. The score, fuck, that's a pro. Why didn't you guys remind me? Jesus Christ, this is why I have you guys here. The pros, one of the pros, the score is godforsaken amazing. And John Carpenter's kind of passing off the torch like Laurie Strode is to Allison in terms of the score. He's passing off to his son. There's nothing better than being able to actually teach your son something that you love, and they actually enjoy it. So I think that's a major plus. The score was fantastic. God dang. I was listening to Halloween soundtracks like the entire month after I seen the movie. I'm not even joking. The Shape Hunts Allison. Oh my god. Go look that video. Turn off this review and go listen to that. Tell me you don't get chills. Tell me you don't get chills. So, another con. Yet another one. I think, to me, that having Sartain be the major plot twist in this movie, where he's like, oh, I've orchestrated everything. They never actually, like, show it, but they allude to it. And then he kills someone and puts on the mask of Michael Myers. After the hitting the car, the hit and run scene, really, it's not a hit and run, but the car scene was, whoa. I did not expect that, but it's kind of what happens whenever you get surprised by Hollywood. It's actually like, wow, you actually, didn't see that coming for once. It's a surprise, and to me, whenever he put on the mask, I went like this in my seat. I said, do you see these bags? This is not what I paid for. It was really bad. It was honestly the cringiest part of the whole movie, besides the phone being thrown into like that little pudding bowl or whatever it was, or cheese sauce, whatever it was. It was bad. God, this movie. Oh, I love this movie, but God, I just messed up my hair. It was bad in scenes, in a lot of the scenes. But I feel like overall, with Michael being there, and a terrifying Michael, to be honest, was pretty dang worth the price of admission to go see the movie. Or price for the ticket. So, all in all, what do I give Halloween 2018? I give it... Dun, 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 no. Wrong song, Spencer. I give it a 7 out of 10. I know, I kind of fooled you guys there. You guys were like, oh, 10? No, none's ever perfect. Only hell on earth is, But anyways, I'm lying. Even we have issues. I believe this movie was decent enough to have a 7. But, my review could change. I feel like this movie, Halloween 2018, is a movie that will eventually be a classic, just like the original. I feel like this is going to be a modern classic in our time. Does it deserve it? That's a topic for another day. But I love you guys to death. That's enough for this review. Oh. So, all in all, Halloween 2018, in theaters it was better. But after rewatch, the dialogue kind of was like, okay. But it wasn't... There was much more to be desired. That's all I can really describe this film as. There's always something to be desired in this movie. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. I'll see you guys next time. Fuck. How do I turn this camera off? Shit. Oh, shit. Hit the window. Oh, fuck.